Okay, this week we have order of operations and combining like terms. So we're going to start with order of operations. And what is great about order of operations is it is a universal way for us to solve problems, and it makes sense of the problem and it helps us solve it. So our order of operations that we are going to follow, I'm going to write it down here at the bottom, is going, or I'll write it up here. No, I'll write it at the bottom. Is going to be what a lot of people say is PEMDAS, but there's a couple of things we have to change about that. So we have parentheses, exponents, then we have multiply, and then we have divide. And the biggest thing about this, it's kind of like it's the same level, like if I was stacking it. Multiply and divide would be on the same step, so we go from left to right, whichever one comes first in the problem, or we say first come, first serve. And then the same thing with add and subtract. They're on the same step, and so it's left to right. So I kind of really only think, some people say there's 6 steps to order of operations. I think of it as there's 4 steps. There's the parentheses, there's the exponent, then there's multiply and divide, and then there's add and subtract. So these are really the same steps, we just do whichever one comes first in the problem. So when we do a problem, the first thing you're going to look for is parentheses. If there's a parentheses, you'd solve that first. If there's an exponent, if there's not a parentheses, then you go to exponents, and you just keep going down the steps until you solve your problem and get one answer. So we're going to start up here. So now I have 3 times, in parentheses, 2 plus 4 squared, close parentheses, divided by 9. So I'm going to go in the parentheses first. Once you are in the parentheses, then you kind of start your order of operations over again for inside the parentheses. You still follow the order. So once I'm in the parentheses, I have an addition, and then I have an exponent. Exponent is going to come first. So 4 squared is equal to 16, and I'm going to bring everything else down. So now I have 2, and I got 16 by doing 4 times 4, because that's how I do my exponents. This is equal to 4 times 4. It's the base, however many times the exponent says, so 1, 2 times. 2 plus 16 is 18, so now my parentheses are gone, and I'm left with 3 times 18 divided by 9. Okay, now this is where that step of multiply divide comes in, because I'm going to multiply first, because it comes first in my problem. 3 times 18 is 54, and then 54 divided by 9 is equal to 6, which is my answer to that problem. For the next one, I have 2 to the second power. Since there's no sign here and it's right next to the parentheses, this means multiply. So I have 2 to the second power times, in parentheses, 9 divided by 3, close parentheses, plus 7. So my first thing is to go in the parentheses, and I only have one thing, so I'm going to divide, and I will get 3. So I keep my parentheses there just because I didn't have a sign, but there's nothing to do in the parentheses anymore, so we're done with our parentheses step. So 2 squared times 3 plus 7. So now my next step is to do the actual exponent. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. So now I have 4 times 3 plus 7. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 7. 12 plus 7 is 19. Last problem, 3 times, in parentheses, 2 to the third power plus 5 plus 2. So I'm going to go in the parentheses, and I have an exponent, so I'm going to do that first. 2 to the third power is going to be 2 times 2, which is 4, times another 2, which is 8. So this is going to be 8 plus 5. Bring everything else down. 8 plus 5 is 13. And then 13 times 3 is 39. Plus 2 is going to be 41. So that is our order of operations. We need to follow parentheses, then exponents, then multiply and divide, and then add and subtract. And if you follow those, you will always get the right answer on your problem. Alright, now we're going to go on to combining like terms. And combining like terms is very simple. It just means that we're going to put anything that's the same type of term together. So we did this in class when we worked with the algebra tiles. So if we had like red for x's, we put all those together. If we had greens for y's, we put all those together. And then if we had our single units, which were the yellow little squares for ones, we would put those together if we had more than one. So anytime I have something that's similar, or that's the same type of term, I can put it together. So here, I have 2 x's, and I also have 4 x's. So I can, if I drew those out, I would have a total of 6x, because I can add them together, plus 3. So when I combine my terms, that's my new terms that have been, my like terms that have been combined. So this, all there is to do is combine the like terms. There's no answer. I don't have to answer the problem and get like a single number. I'm just looking to combine the like term. On this one, I have an x and a 2x, so if I add those together, it would be 3x. Then I also have a 5 and an 8. If I add those together, I would get 13. So when I combine this, it's like you're simplifying the problem. When I simplify this, combine it, I get 3x plus 13. In this last one, it's a little bit more complicated. We've added a couple things to it. The way I think of it is you're always going to use the sign that comes in front, kind of like when we did adding, subtracting integers, right? If we were subtracting, it's the same thing as adding a negative, because I'm using that subtraction sign from in front. So I have 5x, and then I'm going to use the plus sign to go with this 3x. So that's going to give me 8x plus, because that still connects. Then I have 4y minus 3y. Okay, well, 4y minus 3y is just going to be y. So when that's simplified, it would just be 8x plus y. So combining like terms is pretty simple if it's got the same letter. Now, that does not work for x squared. That is not the same as x. Those are not the same. Those are two separate different terms. So we don't want to say that if I have like 2x squared plus x, it's got to stay 2x squared plus x. I cannot add those any further together because those would be different. If you have questions, let us know.